Welcome back, everybody, to the Pond Podcast. We bring you weekly content. You interact with us. You tell us how you feel. Let us know if you hate it. Let us know if you love it. Interact with us on SoundCloud at The Real Pond, on Twitter at The Pond Pod, on Instagram at The Pond Podcast, and on YouTube at The Pond Podcast. Last time we left you, there was no 2019 champion.
You're listening to The Pond.
Now that we're back, there's a 2019 champion. Shout out to the Toronto Raptors. Shout out to Drizzy Drake, who I can't stand, but that's his city, and I gotta give him some support.
He's the champion. He's the NBA champion.
Is he?
Yeah.
We're gonna debate that. We also have the NBA draft upon us on Thursday. I'm excited about that. I am joined by two wonderful people, Jay Hart, Chloe Harrison. People, how you guys doing?
Doing well. Currently have Copa America on. You know, trying to see Brazil get this dub at home. Might be a chef in the kitchen later. We shall see. But yeah.
Interested in two things. What Chloe is gonna cook. She dropped the bomb right there.
Yeah. Well, my family's from Louisiana, so I'm gonna cook a shrimp Creole recipe. Go ahead and get it popping and cracking. But yeah, you know, I was kind of missing home a bit, so I was like, let me go ahead and make something that my mom used to make for us every now and then. Like shrimp Creole, it's not like for us. Jambalaya was more of a weekly thing. Shrimp Creole was like if we did something special. So I'm gonna do that.
Chloe, I just want to say that there's going to be some new faces on the Zatarans box in New Orleans. And we're going to get into that.
You know
too.
what's funny? I was watching I was watching SportsCenter this afternoon, and they did a whole feature on Zion, and you know, like how he's gonna, like how much this means to the city of New Orleans. And they opened with a crawfish farm from my mom's hometown, Kaplan, Louisiana. And for people who know where Kaplan is nowhere near New Orleans. But I just thought that was the funniest thing, because it's like, in order to lead into New Orleans, they had to go to Kaplan to find a crawfish farm. But I thought that was hilarious. But I think he's gonna be big for not just the city, but the state of Louisiana.
We're going to get into it. Jay, how you been? What's going on? How you feeling?
Jay Hart, real name, no gimmicks in the building, etc., etc. I am tired.
Oh yeah, we feel it.
Tired.
We hear it. I feel it. I feel your tiredness. Golly.
Yeah.
You're vibrating at a low frequency right now.
Yeah, at a very low frequency. But you know what? I'm here. I'm resilient. I'm gonna try to do my best to give as much energy as I can, all 10% that I have left for the pod.
Listen, how can people interact with you, Jay and Chloe? Let them know.
I'm at Closter Talks, CHLOSTER Talks. Definitely on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Tumblr. Yeah, go ahead, interact. I'm very open to talking about quite a few sports. I know there's a whole lot of action going on. Like I said, Copa America's on right now. So, you know, if y'all want to chat it up about that, go ahead and hit me up.
Jay?
At the Flawless One on all social medias. Don't talk to me though. I'm probably gonna ignore you because your sports opinion is probably bad.
Ooh.
And I don't want to get into it. But I love you.
And I just want to put a disclaimer out there. Chloe does not have an Instagram. She's not on all platforms. And she does have a secret Instagram, but it's like 126 people waiting for her to hit that accept button.
She got a Finstagram. She got a Finstagram, but she only will accept you. She'll only accept if she sits in person with you, and even then she may not.
I came out to have a really good time, and I honestly feel so attacked right now. Sheesh.
We discovered that over drinks at California Pizza Kitchen.
You gotta join the queue.
You just go put me on blast like this.
I took myself off the queue. I took myself off the queue. I was like, you know what? If that's how you feel, it ain't even that serious.
Rossano has left the chat.
Left the chat. Listen, we're gonna get into trending topics today, though.
Okay.
And I want to start by asking you guys. Number one, who's the third best player in the league? And number two, where is he going? Jay, I'll start with you.
Third best player in the league is Jeremy Lin.
Ooh.
And he will be taking his talents to wherever LeBron James is, I guess.
When sanity returns.
That's all the Lakers would be able to afford.
You know, I think that Jeremy Lin had the third best like NBA life in the league, because this man, if you look at it, went from nothing, undiscovered, undrafted, to national phenomenon, had the whole nation behind him, and then he won. He's got two nations behind him. Then he won an NBA championship, so that's kind of crazy. Chloe,
it's three nations now.
Yeah, three.
Two. No, I didn't say the U.S. was behind him, because the Knicks obviously weren't.
No, they were behind him though.
The United States of America was behind Jeremy Lin at a point.
100%.
I just thought that was all of New York City.
No, there was a definite Linsanity wave. And I mean, I feel like for the other teams he played for, like when he was at Golden State that one time, and then as he continued to travel, and then he was like, he was a really big face for a lot of Asian Americans. Like, he's supposed to be, the next big basketball superstar since Yao Ming. So that was a huge deal.
I'm gonna say that the third best player in the league, all jokes aside, is Kawhi Leonard. I would say number 1 is LeBron James, and number 2 is Kevin Durant. Number 3 is Mr. What is it? Big man grabs boards.
Board man gets paid.
Board man gets paid.
Board man gets paid. Board man about to have Toronto around his finger, only to leave.
I just know it's braids.
Only to leave.
Braids.
I don't know.
Braids. Yeah, braids is going to LA.
Which LA team now?
I say the Clippers.
Clippers.
Apparently, I mean, all the information that I get now on social media, Instagram, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, or, friendly group chats that I'm in, shout out to Hoop Dreams, is just rampant speculation. And the only person I seem to be able to believe is Woj. And Woj is now saying that Kawhi Leonard is apparently really, really excited about playing with the Los Angeles Lakers next season if he does not stay with Toronto. Those are the two teams. The Clippers are now off the board. What's your guys' take on that?
I didn't see that.
Y'all didn't see that tweet? Y'all don't be on Twitter like I am.
I don't. And you work for the NBA anyway, so you actually are the insider. So I'm asking you, like, what do you hear?
Me? Oh.
No, both of us.
I just told you.
I don't know. I mean, the last thing I heard from Woj was that he was really interested in the Clippers. And I mean, like, that's been a rumor for a while now that he wants to play for the Clippers. I think even last season, right? Like he was really interested in going to the smaller Los Angeles team. I don't know, because like now that the Lakers have Anthony Davis, like that would be a spectacular big three, but I think a lot of people's concern is who's going to be, like, I guess the third wheel, if you will.
Who's going to be the rest of the team would be the
right,
concern.
that too, because it's like, since we brought up Woj, based on what Woj was saying about how much the Lakers have to do in order to get to that $32 million in cap space to follow CBA guidelines. That I don't know if the Lakers could bring another max player on board. So it would make even more sense for Kawhi to go to the Clippers. But I feel like that's where he's going to end up. I don't see him staying in Toronto. I don't think he has anything left to prove. I mean, he's the first player in NBA history to win a Finals MVP for a Western Conference team and an Eastern Conference team. He gave Canada a championship that they haven't seen from any of their major league teams that compete with the States in God knows how long. Well, outside of the MLS, since probably the first time in like 26 years,
Well, the Blue Jays in '93.
Yeah, and the Montreal Canadiens. So, or is it Canadiens? Yeah.
The Canadiens.
Okay, yeah. So the first time since the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Blue Jays in '93. And then if you want to count the MLS, Toronto FC won recently, I believe. If not, they lost to Seattle. But it still was a huge deal. Like 52% of Canadians tuned in to watch the NBA Finals. I don't think he has anything left to prove in Toronto. Therefore, I think of all the places he will land. I mean, why not be in a city like LA and give a first-time champion and make the Clippers a first-time champion as well? There you go.
Yeah, I think that I I've waned a little bit and it's only because, not necessarily because they won, because he doesn't owe them anything, and I mean, he did exactly what he came to do. But I think that the fact that Golden State is now so vulnerable because of injury, that I feel like the whole landscape of the NBA is going to change next season. Because to me now, everything seems wide open, competition-wise. So he might be able to stay in Toronto and build a dynasty, at least win a second championship next year. Because depending on what happens with draft and free agency, but it looks good from that aspect, because now there's a chink in that Golden State armor, right? Like there's those two big injuries that definitively deflates that team a lot. So now, to me, the landscape of the NBA is wide open. So even with initially my thought process with the Anthony Davis trade to the Lakers, and I know we're gonna get into that more, but was like, that's a good move. They give up a whole lot to do that, but at the same time, like, they still are a viable competitor now just because of the Golden State part.
Yeah. Oh, also, real quick, while we're still talking about first-time champions, let's give a huge shout-out to the St. Louis Blues for winning their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. They beat the Boston Bruins in 7 games. They beat them on the road. That's a huge, huge deal. And I know, hockey isn't as popular a sport as it used to be, especially compared to the NBA Finals that we just had. But, I mean, the night before Toronto won, the St. Louis Blues earned the hell out that Stanley Cup. Incredible job by them.
I'm trying to figure out when I stopped watching hockey. You know what I mean? Like, I used to love the Detroit Red Wings and the New York Rangers, and then I'm trying to figure out when I stopped.
For me, I was always like one of those people that watched the playoffs. And I had a friend that used to live in Chicago, so we used to follow the Blackhawks a lot. But yeah, I watched the end of Game 7, and the coolest thing was that there's this fan. She's 11 years old, and her name is Layla, and she has this rare disease, and she can only go outside for so long, and they sponsored her to go to Game 7. So she was there for the moment. She got to hoist the Stanley Cup trophy with the Blues themselves. I thought that was just really beautiful, and I don't think it's getting enough press. But sports really does bring people together, and I'm really happy for the city of St. Louis. They lost the Rams, who lost the Super Bowl, and now they get this. So, boom.
Shout out to them. Shout out also to the guy who bet $400 and won $100,000 too.
Yeah, because the Blues were last place in the NHL in January.
Right.
And it went from that to
that's an amazing bet. So shout out.
That is dope.
Shout out to the little girl, and shout out to the guy that got richer.
Back on the Kawhi note, yeah, I think that if anything, if he moves, I think to me it's still Clippers, but only because I don't think that. Let me not say it. I was about to say I don't think LA will mortgage everything just to have those three together on a team, but they 100% would. But I don't know if they can afford to do that. And I think that's where it's going to be real interesting to see how it plays out now with free agency and draft.
I mean, I'm sad that Patrick Beverley is not going to be on the Clippers next year, possibly. I know he's going to be exploring his options in free agency, but to have him and Kawhi as defensive presence, that would be great to see. They will just straight up lock people down. And both of those guys are really, I want to say that Kawhi is kind of like a quiet, radical person when it comes to basketball. And I would say Patrick Beverley's like very boisterous and outspoken about his how radical he is about his love of the game. So that would have been cool to see, but I'm not sure he's gonna stay. So I'm ready for the draft to happen because I think free agency is a bigger story right now for me. It seems like the first 3 picks in the draft are kind of set, but barring any trades or anything like that. How do you guys feel about the Pelicans having two picks in the top 5?
I think it's good for them. This whole Anthony Davis situation really left a sour taste in the franchise's mouth, but now they have a really young core that they can build on. They have a veteran in the locker room in Drew Holiday. Now, with Julius Randle, I'm not sure what he's going to do because I know he's exploring his options as a free agent.
He opted out already. Yeah, he already opted out.
So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I'm excited to see what Alvin Gentry can do. Alvin Gentry obviously after he won the championship in 2015 with the Warriors, went to New Orleans as a coach. He will now stay, I believe, until 2023. And David Griffin is an excellent GM. You know, when he was at NBA TV, I loved listening to his insight. Just his business acumen is impressive. So I'm excited to see what he will be able to do for the Big Easy. But I think there's a lot of upside in New Orleans. This is a lot of really good young talent. It's going to be interesting to see how that all gels together.
All of those dudes that got traded are going to be in Zatarans commercials. They just have the look for like a Zatarans commercial, like I swear. And so
jazz it up
Davis
with Zatarans.
Yeah, with Zatarans, straight up. like I just see that happening. Anthony Davis moving to the Lakers. I said on the pod that if the Lakers did not achieve this during the offseason, them bringing LeBron James to Los Angeles was a failure. And so, in my eyes, they took the next step in bringing Anthony Davis to the Lakers for like this championship run that they have. And it's also part of this LeBron James formula where he needs a big, he needs himself, and all he needs is a wing. We will see who this wing will be. All signs point to Kyle Kuzma, and everybody was surprised that he wasn't traded to New Orleans. Jay, I know exactly. You were the only person that was like, nah, I'm not. I was surprised. If I was the Pelicans, I understand that the draft picks are very valuable. I understand that they have a 4 now, the 4th draft pick overall. But Kyle Kuzma has so much potential and so much upside. He's a likable guy. He's got great ball skills. He can shoot. He can drive. He plays solid defense. I'm surprised they didn't get him in that package.
And that's exactly why I'm
what
happy.
do you think Kyle Kuzma will turn into? What do you think Kyle Kuzma will turn into as the third option right now in Los Angeles?
Well, before I even get to that, I think that David Griffin, knowing how good of a GM he is, I think that says a lot about his approach, that he was okay with having that deal with just the picks, Lonzo, Josh Hart, and Brandon Ingram, because he's very, 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 very high on Brandon Ingram.
You are high on Brandon Ingram too, Jay.
He's talented. But again, I think he's also got the raw end of the deal in LA, because as he's developing, again, keep in mind he's 21. When he was poised to be the primary option and ball handler, they bring LeBron James in. That doesn't happen. You can't. That's a different atmosphere, a different solar system you gotta operate under, to where now he has to be a catch and shoot guy versus when he was allowed to handle the ball a lot more. He was a lot more efficient and scored very well. So now going into this new position, being in New Orleans, we know Zion's not necessarily a ball handler, right? So Lonzo's going to PG and chef that thing up, and whatever he's going to do. Drew Holiday, if he's still there, will do what he does. But I think this is a perfect opportunity for Brandon Ingram now. It is definitively show and prove. You got a new environment, a new system, more stability potentially, because it was very dysfunctional in LA, of course, if you've seen over the last few seasons. So this is now show and prove time. Does the skill on the court and what happens on the court match what the talent is, or what the perception of the talent is? Kyle Kuzma is a great player. He is a fantastic player. It's going to be interesting to see, like, how does his role change, and how does he fit into this role going forward? Essentially, is he going to be playing like the Kevin Love kind of role? Because he's not the explosive D Wade kind. He's not a Kyrie Irving, beat you off the dribble. Like, he can post you up. He can shoot mid range. He can shoot the threes. He can finish at the rim. He can do a lot of those things, but he's not the same kind of player as those two that you've mentioned before in the LeBron James formula. But how does he get affected by the overwhelming touches that Anthony Davis is going to command, that LeBron James is going to command? Who else do they bring in to now fill out that roster? Right now, I saw a projected lineup based on free agencies that are available, and the lineup is TJ McConnell at point guard. TJ McConnell at point guard. TJ McConnell, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Kyle Kuzma, and I forget who the other person was.
First up.
Like, it was insignificant.
No,
So
let's
that's what I'm
not
saying,
sleep on Caruso, though. Alex Caruso does not... TJ McConnell don't jump over Alex Caruso.
Someone posted
okay?
a hype video of him recently. I was like, oh, okay. What's this little and one
Caruso
mixtape?
could ball. Caruso could ball.
He can play, yeah, but he's not gonna ball at a level having played 82 games as a starter.
Absolutely
you know what
not.
I mean? Like this. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Neither is TJ
what else
McConnell.
do they put around that team? So what else do they put around that team? And that's going to be the important thing, because realistically, we don't know what that's going to look like for Kyle Kuzma unless we see who else is going to be built on that team and that roster. Because they don't even have an identity yet. They have no identity. They have a coach. They have an assistant coach who is a coach. You know what I mean? Like, we have no idea what this team is going to even look like or be constructed. We know how LeBron James plays. We know how Anthony Davis plays. How do they play together? That's going to be interesting too. And we also seen from history, LeBron James takes a while to gel with these teammates a lot of times when he's put these teams together. It took the Heat a while. In that first season, they picked it up, and when they hit playoff run and did what they did, but it was also in the Eastern Conference. So how quickly do Anthony Davis and LeBron James gel? Does Anthony Davis stay healthy enough for them to actually gel? Because, you know, he averages about 65 games a season. So does he get injured early? Does he get injured in the middle of the season? Does he get injured towards the end of the season? Does he stay healthy the whole season? So there's so many unknowns and these other little ticky-tack factors. But I think Kyle Kuzma is going to be Kyle Kuzma. He's going to be the same role that he was last year. I don't think it's going to be any different, to be honest.
You take 20 games away from LeBron and you take 20 games away from Anthony Davis. As long as it's not towards the end of the season where they're trying to make a playoff push, I think these teams will be deep in the playoffs. I think this is the finals team because you have two top 10 players on one squad. They revamped their coaching staff. So I don't see this failing. I see this as like a phase 2 of a plan to win a title. It just depends on who they put on the team.
Because
it is, because
I mean, Russell Westbrook and Paul George are two top 10 players potentially, arguably, on the same team. That's not a finals team,
right? But
that team's not a first round team,
right? Well, yeah, that was crazy last year, but
and so that's coaching, that's scheme, that's all those things. Like, those two are fine, but what does the rest of it look like?
I just think that LeBron needs if you look at his track record and you look at his body of work, he has always been successful with a big, and Anthony Davis will be the most talented big man he's ever played with. There hasn't been any other person that's been that talented.
No doubt at all.
However, I mean, he also had a wing that was an all-star. You know, like, you look at Dwayne Wade, you look at Kyrie Irving, like, who is going to be that piece for the Lakers? Who can they really afford? And then they have to build out the rest of the team.
Yep. Yeah, who's gonna handle the ball when LeBron James isn't on the court or needs to spell? You know what I mean? I don't think that's kind of Kyle Kuzma's game. That's not his role. He's gonna be, but I think Kyle Kuzma has all-star talent, so it's not a slight on him. I just think it's gonna be interesting to see how that actually materializes.
Right.
Because we know what we're getting from LeBron James, and we know what we're gonna get from Anthony Davis. We don't know what the rest of that's gonna look like, and especially even with the coaching.
Yeah, and like, I'm really glad that the Lakers kept Kyle Kuzma. Like, that was, I felt like of all the young talent, that was the one person I wanted them to keep because he has so much upside. And like, when he was a rookie, he was up for Rookie of the Year early on. But, you know, to your point, like, this ain't the rookie-sophomore game anymore. This isn't, you know, like the first out of the All-Star game. You have to bring it. You have to prove that you have talent worthy of being an All-Star if you're really going to make this run. Pressure's on. Yeah,
and I think to that point, and not to continue on this topic for so much longer, but there's a lot more leash or a lot more room to fail for him when he's surrounded by his peers that are the same age and in that same class. So when it's him, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, a lot of these, Josh Hart, these young players, and they're the nucleus of a team, there's a lot more room to fail and a lot more leeway and a lot more grace given to you. Now it's LeBron James and Anthony Davis. It's showing, you gotta show and prove. You got no choice. Because if you do, and LeBron James will be the first person to shut you down. He's gonna yell at you and tell you everything about yourself.
I think Kuzma's built for it. And seeing when LeBron, it seemed like LeBron was kind of giving up towards the end of the season. He's pushing him in defensive sets and telling him where to get. I think that he's built for it. I think that he is a player on that team with the least amount of baggage, because Lonzo Ball's father behind him and his mouth and his antics. I think Brandon Ingram has like this kind of like chip on his shoulder where he's like, he almost that KD attitude, like, you know who I am. I'm who.
He need to get that. He need to get that. And like, as much as I made jokes about him this past season about it, he's not tough. Nobody worried about you fighting anybody.
Yeah, he's not.
But he needed that chip. He needs that chip. And if he's healthy, Lord willing, no issues with the blood clot stuff, and if he's 100% healthy and ready to play, I think that this season is going to be he's comeback player of the year, kind of like take the next step up. He's going to be their leading scorer. He's going to be all those pieces.
Yeah, I'm getting you a Brandon Ingram jersey for your birthday.
I don't want it.
Yeah, that's your guy. That is your guy.
But yeah, I really hope that Brandon Ingram's able to have a long career, because I saw what happened to Chris Bosh, and I felt so bad for him, because pulmonary embolisms are nothing to play with. Like, that could lead to death. And, you always want to be careful, especially when a player's on blood thinners, that, they don't bleed internally on the court. So I really hope that, his body doesn't clot as he continues to play on in his career, and that he can have a long NBA career and make the impact that he wants to make on the league.
Do you guys think that this New Orleans team, if they draft Zion Williamson and maybe get DeAndre Hunter,
see, I don't think they would draft Hunter and Zion.
You don't think so?
No. If they go wing, they go big. They go big.
Hunter, Garland, Hachimura, anybody that is a lottery pick. Do you think they're making the playoffs? Is the real question I'm trying to ask. Is this a playoff team?
Not yet.
That's tough.
Not
I think they
yet.
make a sneak at the bottom. They could potentially sneak in. It just I like the fact that I also want to see what they do at free agency too, because there's a couple of pieces that they could add that would make that push. Like if Julius Randle re-signed with them, I would be more on board with what that looks like. If they were able to get Vucevic, I'd be like more on board with what that looks like. But I think it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with that fourth pick, even if they even keep it, because I think there's a potential they trade it.
Yeah, there were rumors that they might trade it for Bradley Beal, but I mean, who knows what's gonna happen with that.
I'm not feeling why nobody likes Bol, and I think that like he's getting a short end of the stick. I like his game. People are talking about his.
It might be feet injuries, The taller you are, the more prone you are for feet injuries.
It's always going to be leg injuries.
But
always going to have leg injuries this year. Look at Porzingis.
Right.
That's
Look
a
at
perfect
Yao Ming.
example. Yeah, Yao Ming, yeah. But why not take a shot on him? You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what he is, and he's also a very unique talent. So it's like...
At 4, though?
No, not at 4. Just in general.
Oh,
so even if... Absolutely not. No.
He's projected to go in the top 20.
Right. And so I'm saying, so if New Orleans wanted to trade back and get, 2 picks for the 4 that they got...
He got injured this year, so I think it's always going to be a warning flag with somebody that big, is because of that risk of injury. It's always going to be an issue, especially when you can get another big who's going to be more sturdy. He may not be as talented, but definitely is going to be more sturdy to be able to play the long run. I'll be honest, who'd be a good fit with them?
Who?
And somebody who's not getting any run. It'd be interesting to see if he gets run next year, but Mo Bamba would be a good fit.
Like a trade?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, Orlando would be kind of crazy to do that, though, because they have their big who potentially, Vucevic, who could be testing free agency at this point. Potentially. So, and they also made the playoffs. They snuck into the playoffs last year.
Without Mo Bamba playing.
Right. So, if you have him, what happens?
I mean, you can go get... Listen, you can't... They're not going to be able to compete long term with DJ Augustine being their best offensive threat.
No. He showed out there. He had some moments last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
right,
moments.
yeah.
Like you can't last long term with that. Like, they need a guard and be able to trade. If I can unload like a Mo Bamba, maybe Jonathan Isaac, try to move up and get one of these earlier picks and go get a Kobe White or go get,
right.
You know what I mean? Like somebody that can be in this backcourt. And they have a bad track record of drafting guards too, though. So, you know, it's a risk. So it'll be interesting with how they move forward. But I think that New Orleans, we know Zion's probably the pick. So what if they keep 4? Yeah, what do? You traded and got a 2-guard, a point guard, a wing. You're going to probably draft another wing.
What's amazing is that they rebuilt their roster after giving away their superstar just this quickly.
Pretty much.
You know?
Well, my thought process is Drew, as good as Drew Holiday is, you know, you obviously are hitting reset by trading away Anthony Davis. Do you go full in on the reset? Because there's a lot of value for Drew Holiday in the NBA. You can get more assets.
I don't think
you can get even more assets.
I don't think they should. I mean, like I said, like veteran experience in the locker room is critical, and I think Drew Holiday provides that, especially for such a young team. But I think going back to the question of whether or not they would make the playoffs, I think we're all forgetting there's the Kings. Like I feel like the Kings are gonna make the playoffs,
yeah,
and
I love
you know,
that team.
with every team that wasn't in the playoffs this season, that's trying to make a run next season, like the Kings and the Lakers. You know, someone has to get bumped out, and it's like you know, who would be the third team that they would bump out of the playoffs to allow New Orleans that opportunity? I just don't see it yet.
I think Utah is shaky.
Well, and I would replace the Utah with the Kings. But then, you know, and then depending on what happens with the Clippers, if they don't get Kawhi, then I'll put the Lakers in their spot. But
now Harrison Barnes being a free agent, that's now interesting because that's a viable wing for a team to be able to pick up.
He's expected to re-sign with Sacramento, from what I read.
He would be a great fit with Los Angeles, I think. The Lakers, because I mean he fits.
I don't think he'd be able to afford him.
Man, I would take a pay cut to play with Los Angeles if I was Harrison Barnes.
But he's already won a championship
pedigree. Yeah. No, but I wanted more. I mean, I don't know what his motivation is. I think he's a good.
Well, he wanted more money from Sacramento. I think that's why he opted out. But he plans to re-sign to get more money.
He was due 20 million next year. I don't know if he's going to get a super high contract, but I mean, his talent. He's talented, so it'll be interesting to see. I think, but I think New Orleans goes Zion, but then I think they go either a big. But if they don't go big and they go a guard, if they go guard, I think that says a lot about them. I think potentially moving Drew Holiday or even Lonzo.
Yeah, I don't think Lonzo can afford any more movement to his ego. That would hurt. That would be weird.
I just don't want to hear from LeVar.
You're going to hear it no matter what.
Lord.
You're going to hear
LeVar
it.
in New Orleans? Jesus Christ.
We're going to get into LeVar also flirting with Molly Karam. I want some takes on that. But I want to know some of you guys' draft picks that we might not be paying attention to that you guys have heard. ESPN.com's mock draft has Brandon Clark at 14 and PJ Washington at 13. The Ringer has Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Nazir Little, respectively, at 14 and 13. The Athletic has Goga Bitadze, who I found out about him literally today. He's a big man, a European big man, very athletic, good shot blocker, got a little bit of handle. He's interesting. Tyler Hero, Sports Illustrated has him at 14. And those are kind of some, random names. Bleacher Report has Bol Bol once again, who I'm high on at 14. What do you guys think?
Carson Edwards, Vanderbilt.
It's a good pick.
He's one of the guards that's slide into that argument for one of the best guards in the draft. He's just small. That's the biggest drawback to him. It's just the height. I like PJ Washington a lot. He can be a defensive stopper, but also can step out and shoot the three. Anybody heard of Dylan Windler from Belmont?
No idea who that is.
He sounds like a mid-major.
Right.
That's a mid-major name.
He's basically Doug McDermott.
Okay. Doug has a jump shot. He's got a nice jumper.
Well, he's a swing. He's a 6'8" swing man. 21-10 a game. His senior year.
What's his vertical? Because Pat Connaughton's vertical surprised me.
That I don't know.
Okay, I thought he had a crazy vert too. I was like,
he against Maryland this past season had 35 and 11. Like, yeah, he's definitely a Doug McDermott type. So those would be my picks.
Okay, Chloe, what you got?
Yeah, I don't know. I would agree with PJ Washington. I think he could be a huge asset. I don't know. For me, it's always hard to predict like who would be a steal in the draft, because I remember like when he drafted Justice Winslow, we were like, oh, he's a steal of the draft, you know. And like Justice Winslow is a solid player. However, like I thought, you know, we were talking like, oh, he's gonna be like a future all-star, you know. I don't know. It's like it's always really hard to get in the minds of these GMs and like, you know, what they're looking for and who's really going to be the best fit for the team. But yeah, I mean, like PJ Washington's been like someone I've been watching. Rui Hachimura out of Gonzaga.
You took my guy.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I love that he's from Japan. I love that, you know, I love getting global audiences involved, especially from the college level at Gonzaga. I hate that they didn't get to the Final Four like I thought they would, but I think he's definitely going to be someone to watch in this draft. But yeah, I would say like I'm pretty high on those two.
I really like Hachimura as well, out of Gonzaga, and he started playing basketball late, which is what's interesting about him. Like I think they say he started playing at 15.
I mean, Olajuwon started playing at 15. You know, that's common with a lot of players from other countries.
I know. What's our guy? Joel Embiid started playing late. So
right, yeah.
I mean those type of guys.
Tim Duncan wants to be somewhere.
When I hear about those type of guys and then they just jump into college and start balling, those are the guys that stand out to me, you know, if I was a scout or a GM, because, you know, the learning curve, they got over it. So he's 6'8".
Same thing with Giannis. Same thing with Embiid.
Yeah.
6'8", 230 pounds. He was averaging 20 in college in Gonzaga. 7 rebounds, you know. So he's got a big body. He's got a nice mid-range game. He plays very like mechanical, which shows me that he's like dedicated to the sport. You know, he's dedicated to his art form of just getting to his spots, making his shots. He's efficient. So that's my guy that I like. If the Knicks did something stupid and traded the third pick for multiple picks, I would want him on my team. If we did something crazy like that. So that's how high I am on him. I just like his game, and I think he's a solid addition. I wish the Hawks would take him. I think the Hawks would be really smart to take him at forward, small forward. It would be pretty cool to see him, John Collins, and Trae Young play. So
I think that I 100% think the Hawks are taking Cam Reddish if he's there. Mm-hmm. But I also think that and this is my biased pick, Kobe White or Nasir Little should be on everybody's draft boards. Don't care if you're a guard. Don't care if you're a guard or not. So both of them should be on your draft boards. But in terms of sleepers, Jalen McDaniels from San Diego State he's a reach, but 6'10", can score. Shooting got better over the past 2 years. He's got this Kevin Durant frame, so that would be the drawback, because he's not a shooter like Kevin Durant, where like it doesn't matter if he's small because he can shoot over everybody and make every shot. But he's built like a Kevin Durant, built like a Jonathan Isaac from Orlando, the previously mentioned Jonathan Isaac. So that'd be another. He could slot in, get stronger, but slot into maybe Dallas potentially, to where you have another big that can stretch the floor along with Porzingis to work with Luka down there. So
I'm scared of Dallas. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, that's a scary thing that they got brewing down there.
Right, like that's the thing. Like the West is so stacked. You know, going back to New Orleans in the playoffs, like I totally forgot about Dallas. I mean, you know, I think there's gonna be some shakeups between this past year's playoffs and next year. It's gonna be some changes.
I definitely could see that. We're gonna have draft reactions for you after the draft on Thursday. And tell you what we think. I feel like it's going to be some crazy trades. But speaking of the West,
I forgot Justin Jackson was with Dallas too.
Yeah. Dallas is kind of scary.
Yeah,
Dallas squad is kind of scary.
Oh yeah.
So they also got one of the
Tar Heels.
They got Giannis's brother like in the G League over there, just building, just growing. So they're kind of weird. They're kind of scary. What's crazy in the West is that CP3 has just stated that he wants out from Houston. Chloe, as a Houston native, when we were walking out of work today, that's the first thing that you said. You were like, you just went on a rant about it. So I want to hear your take on Chris Paul wanting to leave Houston.
Chris Paul and James Harden.
His issues with James Harden.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like, people know I'm a Heat fan. Just because I've worked with the organization, and you know, even when LeBron was there, it was exciting to live in Miami at that point in time.
You're listening to the Pine.
My thing with the Rockets, I stopped being a fan after like the Yao Ming, Tracy McGrady era ended. With James Harden's a very talented player, you know, and I respect the fact that he went from being sixth man of the year to being a perennial all-star and leading the Rockets as he has. But what really left a bad taste in my mouth was when, you know, he and Kevin McHale were now on the same page. And they went to their first Western Conference Finals in almost 20 years. And, you know, they lost to Golden State the first time. Then they started off the next season, 2015-16, with a 7-11 record, and then Kevin McHale was ultimately fired, and a lot of people were like, oh, well, he wasn't getting along with James Harden. And then, you know, Kevin McHale stated his disagreements with James Harden, still praised him as a player, but said, like, you know, he needs to work on defense, he needs to work on X, Y, and Z, and being a better leader. James Harden called him a clown. So, you know, like it was a lot. And I that left a bad taste in my mouth because Kevin McHale's a Hall of Famer, you know, and he had coaching experience in Minnesota. This was not his first time at the rodeo. And it's just like, you know, you don't cost
But James Harden, but James Harden's a Hall of Famer too.
Future Hall of Famer. Like, first of all, Kevin McHale is established.
Oh,
okay. I was about to say, wait a minute. Well, this man got 3 rings. You know, if anything, Kevin McHale could say what he wants. You know, he played with the Celtics of the 80s. Like, you know, he played a different kind of basketball.
Yeah, he was knocking people out.
That's what I'm saying. People forget.
Punching people in the face.
And he beat the Rockets twice in the finals with Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson. But anyways, after that happened, you know, they got Chris Paul, and I always wonder like how it would be with like 2 extremely big egos and 2 future Hall of Famers, you know, being on this Rockets team, and you know, having Mike D'Antoni, who's offensive minded, but there's, you know, like very little defensive effort in the playoffs sometimes for the Rockets. And I think the frustration of not being able to beat Golden State, coupled with egos, is what's leading to like this inner Rockets dysfunction. And the ESPN article is very detailed, which is always a red flag to me. You know, I think Chris Paul commented on Instagram earlier saying like, wow, I didn't know I said that, or, you know, like something sarcastic. But my thing is, if you allow someone to write that detailed of a report about your locker room, something is brewing. Something is about to hit the fan. We've seen this with the Cleveland Cavaliers in the past couple of years. It doesn't surprise me that this is happening with the Rockets. You know, you have a GM who's very statistically minded and is trying to beat everybody with stats. But as I told you earlier, stats is a tool. It's not a toolbox. You know, I got that from Jalen Rose. Like, it's a tool.
Yeah, I know Jalen Rose did say that.
Right.
Yep.
Like, it can't be the be all end all, you know, because you still have to have team chemistry. You still have to have a lot of intangibles to build a championship team. And they overpaid Chris Paul. And that's the thing. It's like, if Chris Paul is really requested for a trade, who is picking up that tab? Like, for someone who's 37, someone where we saw like last year in the playoffs blow out his hamstring, wasn't available to be in a series eliminating game. Like, you know, like this all matters.
Did you have to use the word blow out his hamstring? Blow.
I mean, is that not what happened? His compression shorts ripped. Okay. So, but yeah, that's right. Like, I think with the Rockets, there is dysfunction.
And you called him 37 too. He's not that old.
Mid to late 30s.
At the end of his contract.
There you go.
His contract, there you go.
My apologies, but mid to late 30s, he is getting up there in age. But my thing with the Rockets, they're very, like, it's a lot. I'm sure there's a lot of dysfunction. I believe there's a lot of dysfunction. You know, people are frustrated. They're tired of being the second fiddle to the same old team. Now, again, like we said earlier, there is wide open spaces, but again, you have all these younger teams like the Mavericks, the Kings, you know, they're coming up and they're younger, they're a lot healthier, they're faster. You know, it's going to be really interesting to see if they can keep up with that. I think Chris Paul is going to stay, you know, with the Rockets. I think it's going to be something that everyone's going to talk about every day, and it's probably going to annoy the hell out of them. And if they start losing, you know, don't be surprised if the Rockets start making moves and at the end of the day try to build around James Harden once again. And then that narrative is going to turn it into, oh, well, like James Harden, you know, James Harden could put up all these numbers, but James Harden always has disagreements with people who are either seen as having equal talent or seen as, you know, someone who also was a player of a high caliber, like a Kevin McHale.
Right.
Yeah, I think the CP3 issue in Houston is a CP3 issue, not an anybody else issue. I feel like that even from the start, from the outset of it, it was doomed to fail. Only because he, that being Chris Paul, has to be the primary ball handler and the primary driver of a team, right? But he came to a team with the guy who already is that for that team. So trying to get them to coexist and, you know, so when you win, that stuff is easier to do. It's even easier to manage, and some of those cracks and some of those leaks can be maintained a little bit differently. But when you lose, and your stats, your numbers start going down in the process, I think that just exacerbates that, right? So Chris Paul averaged like probably the least assists this season per game than he's averaged probably in 10 years. The least points he's probably averaged in 10 years. Because he has to take a back seat to James Harden. I think he's fed up. Like, he wants to be the guy, right? But he can't be the guy in that team because that team is James Harden's team. That's just it. There is no debate. So if somebody's going to go, you guarantee you know it's going to be Chris Paul. The problem is, like you said, Chloe, he has 3 years and $124 million left to be paid.
Yep.
Who is taking that contract?
State Farm.
Who? Well, who is? Yeah. Do you get Cliff Paul too? Like, is it a package deal? Like, who is taking that for a 34-year-old point guard?
Yeah.
I
don't think they should break up because
some team might do it.
I don't.
Some team might do it, but I think it's just going to be interesting to see how that gets navigated moving forward. And that's not even their biggest hole, because they still need a three, because that's their biggest error, thinking that Carmelo's going to come in and fill that seat, and we saw that fail miserably, and they never could really fill that void. And Capella has moved up in that hierarchy on that team. He's gonna have to get paid what he feels like he deserves and has earned.
He got his money,
right? So now going forward, so now how does you build this team? Because they have some glaring holes. PJ Tucker can't be the answer.
You can't blow this. I mean, I think that they have to ride this out. I don't think that they can afford to move.
I don't think they have a choice to ride it out.
But even if, you know, something devastating happened and Chris Paul decided to sit out this next season, it wouldn't be smart, seeing that the Golden State Warriors are not the barrier that they used to be. I mean, if we look back at the last 2 seasons, the only reason why the Rockets were not in the finals is because of the Golden State Warriors. So you gotta reel it in. You gotta ride your contract out and see what happens. You know what I mean? Because I don't think Chris Paul will be this close to tasting a championship unless he goes to a major contender. And I don't see, like you guys said, anybody having the space to do that or taking his contract on. So you're stuck essentially. And you have to, I would just reel it in, get it together, and just be like, hey, the Golden State Warriors are not what we used to, and the Los Angeles Lakers are not filled out all the way. And we are the best team in the West on paper right now.
It's the only way they can. Well, that's still arguable.
On paper, right now they are. I mean,
that's still debatable, I think. But I think that.
Hold on, I want to know why y'all don't agree with that.
Because
PJ Tucker's on that team. Because PJ Tucker was the X factor.
Because, like I said, like you need team chemistry to win a championship. I mean, I truly believe they are dysfunctional. Houston, we have a problem. Like, you can't
be dysfunctional and lose to the Warriors. You know. And almost beat them. Like, it's not. That's
like,
not. I don't think it's dysfunctional.
I get being frustrated, but I do think there's a fine line between frustrated and dysfunctional. If you're frustrated, like the Heat were when they lost to the Mavericks in 2011, the first thing they did was they all went to the gym, like voluntarily.
They reeled it in.
Right. You reel it in, you lock it in low. You are forging a fire between a hammer and an anvil. You lock that in. You know, like, meanwhile, rather than just being frustrated and using that as motivation for the next season, you got people saying that you're dysfunctional. And, I mean, again, if you can write a detailed report of how dysfunctional they are, chances are it's true. So, like I said, there's a difference between being frustrated and dysfunctional. And I do believe that the Rockets are dysfunctional.
Yep, and if you want to if we want to sit and look at, okay, who's a better team than the Rockets? I think if healthy, 100% healthy, I think I'll go Portland over them.
Okay.
100% healthy with Nurkic in there, I'll go Portland over them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you talk about record, the Nuggets were better.
I was about to say, yeah. I like the Nuggets.
But we knew if the Nuggets and the Rockets saw each other that the Rockets would beating them. You know?
Potentially, yeah, because the Nuggets don't have that playoff
play.
experience.
I think they're both motivated.
But now they have the playoff experience.
Yeah, I guess y'all didn't watch it. Were y'all watching the playoffs last year?
Experience.
I had to.
I'm talking about coming in this upcoming season, now with playoff experience for that team, that looks a lot different. And Michael Porter being able to play for this team now going forward, that looks a lot different to me. So, yeah, I can't say that the Rockets got the best team in the West. You know what I mean? Like, I can't confidently say that because I'm looking at their depth chart right now, and I'm not worried about Amon Shumpert off the bench.
I mean, you picked the worst person.
I'm not worried about Austin Rivers off the bench.
You're picking the low-tier players.
I'm not worried about Gerald Green. I'm
not worried about Daniel House Jr. And I like Daniel House Jr. because high power, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Nene. And the person who was playing the hottest on the team, they didn't play.
Kenneth Faried. I don't understand that. And we talked about that on the podcast.
Doing a little Bleacher Report.
Why would I be worried about
uninterrupted?
They can't even do the basic shit, and they couldn't even do the basic things and put the player who was playing great and let him play.
James Harden.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. Being James.
No, Harden's great. Eric Gordon is great. Chris Paul's a great player.
Right.
And
Clint Capella's solid. Not when he's under pressure, but
hit or miss.
Yeah.
Hit or miss. And PJ Tucker exists on the earth.
They got a solid squad. They'll be fine. They're
not bad.
They're not bad, but I'm not about to like.
It's not black and white that you're either good or bad. Like, they're not bad. But if you told me to name a better team than them when healthy, I would say Portland would beat them in a 7-game series.
I'm not about to head to Vegas and bet on the Rockets. I think that's the thing. It's like they're not bad, but you know there are some questions.
And now with dysfunction in that and dissension in there. Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna say Portland beats them.
That's interesting, guys. But okay, I'm gonna have to ride with that. So we're gonna keep it moving. Lavar Ball was on First Take, and he was talking about Lonzo's move to the New Orleans Pelicans. He verbally said that that's what he wanted. You know, it was the best thing for his son, and he just wants to see him play. Cool. He also decided to flirt with Molly Cam Rose, who is married.
Yes.
As the Rose states, to Jalen Rose. Mm-hmm. And I think the comment was... She's like, let's switch gears, and he's like, I'll switch gears with you anytime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No. Let's now we gotta keep it in full context.
Okay.
And we can get the exact quotes.
Okay.
What she said was, "Hey, let me switch gears with you for a minute," and his response was, "You can switch gears with me anytime." I just want to make sure.
What did I say different? Did I say anything different?
You just said, let me change gears. Because I think that context is important.
Okay.
Let me change gears versus let me switch gears with you is different. It's very different. Those are two very different statements.
Oh, okay. Well,
I want to just make that known first.
Okay. So, I mean,
that has nothing to do with my perspective. I just want to make that. Let's be fully transparent.
That was transparent, right?
Yes.
One more time. What's the quote, Jay?
I'm gonna paraphrase, but
it
wasn't just let's switch gears. It was no. What I'm saying is it wasn't just. Listen. It wasn't just let's switch gears. It was with you was a part of it.
Let me switch gears with
That's
you.
the point I'm trying to emphasize.
Switch gears
with you
anytime.
Correct. That's what it is. The with you part is important on both ends.
Okay.
I need to ask the two of you.
Okay.
Is this a flagrant 1, 2, or the made up flagrant 7 that we've created where it's just unacceptable? You gotta get out. I want to know.
I think, all right, so ESPN, like any media company, knows exactly who they are booking when they have guests on shows like First Take. ESPN knows what kind of character Lavar is going to be. ESPN knows what kind of audience is going to tune in when they book someone like Lavar Ball. I think Molly Karam is very professional with her role as moderator, and being that she is married to a fellow ESPN talking head and a former basketball player, I think she's even more professional to keep her business and her personal life very separate. You know, Molly's probably one of the most professional people that they have on the morning block at ESPN. I think Molly was genuinely trying to, say like, let's go ahead and switch the subject to you. And I think LeVar Ball, being the caricature that he is, tried to make it seem like it was flirtatious. And in that sense, the tone is inappropriate. And you can see on her face that she was uncomfortable. And you can see on Max and Stephen A's faces that they were just as uncomfortable with that statement. Like, first of all, you don't do that to someone who's married. You don't do that when you are married to somebody totally different. In a year where you have both of your sons going pro, LaMelo just announced that he's going to go play in the NBL in Australia. It's like the last thing you want to do is continue to bring clownery, attract clownery to your brand by doing something like this. I found it to be inappropriate, especially in a male-dominated sports industry where you have people, that say one thing, but it's like the tone is flirtatious and the tone makes you feel uncomfortable. And it's like you're already the only, like one of the few women or sometimes the only woman in the room or in a public space. And, it's like you're trying to prove yourself to be a sports broadcaster, to be professional, to know what you're talking about, to have this persona on television where it's like, I fit in this room. And for you to try to, flirt with me, I don't know. It was just all kinds of, to me, it was multiple levels of inappropriate.
Yeah.
But I need to know if it's a flagrant 1, 2, or a 7.
I would give it a 3. Because
that means he got kicked out the game?
What? Well, yeah, he would be taken. I think he would be taken out the game. Like, you don't do that, and it's not his first time on the show. He does things to generate people talking about him. He knows exactly what he's doing, and you have to know better.
So this is where I agree with everything that Chloe just said. And there's a caveat to that. And that caveat is it's because of two things in particular. One, Molly is the lone female moderator host of this show with two males surrounding her interviewing another male, right? Mm-hmm. The second part is it's LaVar Ball. So optics, it's bad. It's bad, right? So the exact quote was, LaVar, can I switch gears with you because I have a question here? His response was, you can switch gears with me anytime. 45-second clip I watched earlier. Let me finish first, and then you can engage. 45-second clip I watched earlier. Just off initial, just watching it without any context, it seemed completely innocent and fine.
You're listening to The Pine.
You can't see him or his facial expression when he said it. You see her reaction to it. So without context of seeing what she saw, I can't tell her how to hear that or how to process that. And I'm not here to do that. Just based off just initial watch that, it seemed completely innocent. Now, this is LaVar Ball. This is the same person who's talked down to women in interviews. He is a character. He has created an image for himself. I am 100% thinking that in the mindset that one, in the vacuum based on the optics and all these places, yeah, it's justification for this. He should get all the roasting and all that stuff, a part of that. But I also firmly believe that's because it's him. That if that was Tom Brady sitting there and that same question was asked and his response was that same, it wouldn't be taken the same way. I 100% firmly believe.
Okay. That's it.
And that is because it's just call and response. If I said, Rossano, I want to go out here with you, and your response was, yeah, you can go with me anytime.
Yeah.
Is that going to be taken the same way? It's call and response.
Okay.
Right? But that is LaVar. We know who he is. We know how he portrays himself, and we know his history with how he talks to engages with women on these shows in particular.
Okay.
So yeah, it's flagrant.
So flagrant 100%. What? That's it. Which flagrant?
Two. Now you
flagrant
get him out.
Get him out.
100%. But I think it's important to say that it's important to say that context is important, and if that was not him, if it was somebody that people had a different perception of, I firmly believe that would be taken and responded to differently.
Yeah.
But him, if that was Floyd Mayweather, if that was Conor McGregor,
if it was Floyd Mayweather, I think Jalen would have ran on the set.
100%, right?
Oh my God.
100%, right? Because we know we have our perception of these people. We have how we feel about them. We know how they engage. We've seen how they conduct themselves. So we're going to process that differently because of who the person is.
Yeah.
But if that was Tom Brady, if that was I don't know. If that was Kawhi Leonard,
yeah, I don't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody's taking it that way.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I don't think LaVar Ball
will
is a bad
suffice.
dude. I don't think LaVar Ball is a bad dude, but he's got a lot of flagrant in him, and that's his personality.
He does,
and so
he does.
And I think that he doesn't have a delay. Like, he's reactionary. Like, as soon as somebody puts something into him, he spits it out. But that's also hurt his sons in their perception.
Correct.
Correct. And then if anytime anything bad comes out about him, it's just like, oh God. Like, especially with Lonzo Ball having to tattoo over the Big Baller brand. The whole Big Baller brand in general. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. Keep it on this situation. Well, listen, keep it on this situation in particular.
He wasn't paying those players with the JBA.
Like, I didn't.
It's a scam.
I just like how you said a scam.
I didn't. Well, listen, I didn't see the story until somebody just randomly said something in our group me about, oh yeah, I saw LaVar's comments, whatever he said, right? And I didn't know anything about it. But the fact that somebody said that was the case, immediately when I heard that, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because of my perception of who LaVar Ball is.
Got you.
But if that was anybody else, I'd be like,
okay.
You sure?
Honestly, a sure
you know
would
what I mean?
suffice. Like, I don't know, just be respectful. Sure. Ask me the question.
So
Sure, I 100% agree. And yes,
No.
yes,
I feel like
yes.
everybody needs a personal HR.
okay.
Yeah, but again, I think in the pure vacuum, like that is if you are in just call and response. Like somebody said, let's aside from this specific situation, if somebody rolls up to me and starts speaking in a high pitched voice because they're super excited, my response is probably gonna be in a high pitched voice, super excited too. That's not even controlled, right? Like, oh hey, how are you doing? Oh my god, I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just an immediate reaction, right? So if somebody says, hey, I want to do this with you, yeah, you can do this with me anytime, sure. It seemed very innocent, but that's intent versus impact. It's intent versus impact. I don't know what his intention was, but it probably didn't seem like it was very intended to be anything, because when they showed him afterwards, and he's like, yeah, you can change gears with me anytime. Yeah. Or like he didn't make any faces. He was just responding, right?
Yeah, but
impact still was important,
right?
And he needs to still respond regardless if he thinks he did something wrong or intended to do something wrong. It was taken how it was, so he needs to do his part. But yeah, it's just such a great area, and I think a lot of it is again rooted on our perception of who the person was.
Right. We're gonna switch gears to the other guy that's always in the news and always has a headline, and that's Drake. And I want to know, after the Toronto Raptors won the championship, did you guys listen to Drake's music, his championship music that he put out for the Toronto Raptors? Okay.
I didn't check it out yet.
Okay. This is a great point. Now, Chloe, how have you avoided not hearing it? Because I'm for real, because he's everywhere, so I want to know.
Because, well, for one, I had to work during the NBA Finals, so, one, I was like, I need to take a day to just breathe. And then two, for me, like I said, I follow a whole bunch of sports. So I was like, well, let me go ahead and watch the Women's World Cup, XYZ. But I did read some lyrics from Complex Music, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it sounds decent. It's not like, oh, like this is something I'm about to work out to feel like a champion today.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because he didn't put out. Like, he didn't make a song for the championship.
Well, I get that, but it's like, make a song just in case. I feel like Drake's that type of dude.
He put out music, basically had some music stash, and is like, you know what, I'm going to give the fans, if we win a championship, I'm going to give y'all this free music.
Well, he should have stashed like a hard hitting, because based on like what I've heard, like just from critiques, it's just like, it's okay. I mean, it's not like.
Yeah, it's the first song. Was it Omerta?
Yeah, Omerta. I think
he's just rapping. He's just rapping. He rapping.
Oh, okay,
and it's cool. It's good. And then the second song is like a bop with him and Rick Ross.
I don't even think I heard the second song.
That's what made me mad. Like, Complex came out, it was like 4 songs. They're like, what's the best Drake-Rick Ross collaboration? Not once did they mention Aston Martin music.
Yeah, Aston Martin
Not
music
once did they mention Diced Pineapples.
Yeah, it is.
They mentioned Lord Knows, which I love.
It ain't this
but
one.
I was like, yo, Diced Pineapples, Aston Martin music. Like, that needs to be on that list.
You Stay Scheming.
You can mention
Stay Scheming.
Like,
there you go. Like, with Fresh
Montana
and Meek Mill.
It ain't this one. It ain't this song. But this song is like a little bop though.
Oh no, never mind. I like that. I like that early 2010s.
I wanted him to just re-release 5 a.m. in Toronto, just the same beat with just new lyrics or something like that. That's what I would like.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what the thing is, because like he's rapidy, like it's one of those like feels of like those 5 a.m. Torontos, like it's that feel of that, the 30 for 30 freestyle. It's that feel, but it's just like it didn't hit the same.
Right.
Maybe that's the best way to put it. It didn't connect the same, but like the feel of it is that it's like him just like rapping some bars. But like it's like he got bored and he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw some bars on the beat, and that's what it is.
So
I need Drake to like put something out where it's like I put my foot in this, I put my heart and soul in this. I felt like he was a lot.
It's over.
He's supposedly putting an album out this year. So
You would
Great,
never get that
okay.
again.
I mean, I don't know. For me, like when Scorpion came out, I felt like Scorpion was his best in a while. But I just feel like with So Far Gone and Take Care, they're just so far above the rest of his work, albums-wise. And I need that. I want him to get back to that. When he said my junior and senior will only get meaner, I felt that. I was like, I need him to get back to that Take Care, So Far Gone level. Like, Thank Me Later was all right. But, like, if So Far Gone was the mixtape, Grammys. I mean, if So Far Gone was the album, Grammys. Awesome.
So
now, I think y'all need to revisit. I think I need to revisit the good old album.
spit it out, Jay.
Nothing was the same.
Okay.
Nothing was the same. I felt like it was very formulaic in comparison to Take Care. It was like, okay, I'm gonna put a banger as a third track. Birdman's gonna be on the 7th track. It's gonna open with like some little R&B melancholy song. I felt like nothing was the same. It was like I'm trying to repeat with
Tuscan Leather, Wu-Tang Forever.
Y'all getting a little too hype about Drake.
From Time with
over My Dead Body was a little bit better than Tuscan Leather.
Oh my goodness.
But my thing is like,
oh my god.
I felt like once that came out, you know, and then I think what really disappointed me with Drake was when Views came out, because I was expecting Views to be a lot better than what it was. And
I'm gonna be honest, I revisited Views too. Views is way better than I thought it was.
no, because it was like if you're reading this, it's too late. If you're reading this came out, I was like, oh, these are all the tracks that didn't make Views. Oh, Views about to be on and popping, and Views was not on and popping. More Life was not on and popping.
Yes. Okay. So I revisited. If you're reading this, is too late, and I loved it a lot more now. I revisited More Life, and still not for me.
Yeah.
Listen, Drake's best song is a feature with, and he's singing with Chris Brown. So that's all I have to say about
what
that.
What song is that?
That the new song that came out.
The new one.
You Got It, Girl.
Yeah, the song's fine.
Okay, so
that song's fine.
That's how I feel.
A song of the summer.
Yeah,
song of the summer.
So come on, Drake. Come on, bro. We gonna move on to X-Men because y'all was going hard for Drake just now. Chloe, you saw X-Men.
Go revisit them albums.
I'm not excited for this new album. No, you guys are putting out water cooling music in 2019. Give us a banger. You know.
Go revisit.
I need you to be as hungry as your first album. It doesn't matter if you're making enough money to buy the whole world a Birkin bag. I need you to come hard in the paint. Period. That's what I want.
Now. He on an airplane now, bro.
I want to feel it.
Once you own an airplane, it's a little different, bro.
Yellow wild. Chloe, you saw X-Men.
Yeah.
Chloe, you're one of 16 people that saw
X-Men. Okay, you know what? First of all, it wasn't that bad. All right.
Okay.
Like, I get that this is not the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's still Marvel Entertainment. We are going to support Stan Lee beyond the grave. Yes, we will.
We stand Stan Lee. Okay.
Yes, we do.
Super.
All right.
What was your take? How'd you feel?
So Dark Phoenix.
You gotta keep it quick though.
Yeah, Dark Phoenix. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be like the culmination of an X-Men film. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be like, oh, this is the last film. We're gonna go out with a bang. It was better than Apocalypse. It was better than The Last Stand, and it was better than X-Men Origins. It wasn't the best X-Men film because like nothing's beating Logan. But
Logan.
I felt like the actors did what they needed to do. It felt short. There were some holes because it's totally different from like the screen test that they did a couple months ago with the film. But I felt like it was a much better plot than The Last Stand. There were still some holes in how they told the Phoenix story. Like, we don't actually see Jean Grey like actually have a fight with herself. It just feels like everyone's trying to control her. The final battle, they totally changed it from the screen test because they felt like it was going to mirror Captain Marvel. So I get that. But I thought, honestly, like that fight sequence was actually pretty fire. The fight sequence was fire. I thought.
Okay.
I thought Magneto did that.
Magneto's a G. Magneto is the only reason why we'll go to see any of these movies because
Magneto did not flinch. But the other thing that bothers me is like when are they going to bring Patrick Stewart back into the picture? And then the way it ended, it kind of doesn't make Days of Future Past make any sense either. And it's like the whole reason why they made Days of
Yeah.
Future Past was to restart the timeline so they could retell
Basically,
Jean Grey's
so they can do
story.
anything. They can do things that in a
Right,
different way.
because it's like
I'm
in
gonna just wait.
2023 you got Patrick Stewart. In 2029 with Logan you got Patrick Stewart. But in this movie you still have James McAvoy and it's the 90s. And I'm like, okay, so he's looked the same for 30 years? Like, how's that possible?
Yeah. Somebody told me, Chloe, that this movie is barely good enough for Fire Stick.
Damn.
Is this true?
Now, I was going to ask, should I stream? Should I wait for us to go to streaming? Should I sneak into the movie theater and see it after I saw the movie I wanted to see? Like, what should I do?
I mean, honestly, I think people should support it. I feel bad that this is the lowest domestic opening because it did a lot better in the international box office, but it's like in the 20 years of the franchise, I do feel bad that this is the lowest because I feel like The Last Stand should have been the lowest. I feel like X-Men Origins Wolverine should have been the lowest. I did not like either of those films at all.
Terrible movie.
Apocalypse was...
The opening sequence was good.
But it's like the plot was like pharmaceutical companies. I'm like, y'all could have done better with the plot.
Listen, I will tell you that the only reason we have Deadpool now is because of that Marvel Wolverine debacle. So
and that was one of the reasons why they restarted
something
the
good came from it.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things, like I would want people to put money towards it. I realize that they won't. Therefore, I feel like people should wait till it comes on HBO to watch it.
It's going on HBO?
I mean, you know, HBO shows films. But, you know,
I thought
feel
it
like
would be
people
like
should
a Hulu something.
No. Can I say my quick beef? What's
your beef, Jay? I feel the hurt in your heart.
My small beef is the same beef I have with Game of Thrones.
Whoa!
And it's funny because like Sophie Taylor's in
once
both.
the people who create it come out and say, yeah, my bad. Don't listen. Don't be mad at them. Be mad at me.
I got you.
Then I'm checked out already.
I got you.
Because the director already came out and said, yeah, so I messed this up.
He did.
all right, bro.
I want to take some time out.
Thank you
to say.
Thank you for saving me some coins.
I want to take some time out to say I told you to all the people who were like trying to play me when I said Game of Thrones was gonna end whack when it was episode 2 of this last season. Now you feel me?
Shout out.
Okay. Now you see what I was talking about. Y'all was roasting me in my workplace. All right, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right, that's great.
A good show.
Dark Phoenix.
A good show.
Dark Phoenix, I felt like was better than Game of Thrones, just like because it's like okay.
Damn.
Because I was trying to figure out what was people's beef with this whole thing. Like I was like, damn, like why do people hate Dark Phoenix this much? You know. And I felt like the plot was pretty solid. It's just it could have been executed a lot better. And like I said, it felt short. And you know the test screen was longer. They had to change the whole entire thing. And then you know the Bryan Singer harassment situation. They had to get a completely different director to even finish the job. So there was a lot surrounding this. And I did read the article that Jay was talking about where the director came out and said, "Ooh, like could have done a lot better with this." But it's out of Fox's hands now. What I really hope that Disney does is the kind of same thing they did with Star Wars, where they don't recast because there will never be another Wolverine like Hugh Jackman. And I don't know if he would ever do another Wolverine film. I felt like Logan was his last one. That was it for him.
That was
his swan song. But I feel like Disney should pick up the mantle, just take it to either do an X-Men where it's focused on the 2000s and pay homage to the first X-Men film and continue with this new timeline, or just skip straight to 2023 and then catch us up there and then skip to 2030 where you would have the New Mutants with Laura and everybody else.
I mean, we're already at 2023 now in the cinematic universe, right?
Yeah, we are. But
They
if they do an origin story like
it.
with Captain Marvel, she was in the 90s. If they do an origin story with X-Men, I feel like it would be the same thing. And then they can finally bring in Rogue and Kitty Pryde and everybody else who was in Days of Future Past at the end.
We'll finally can introduce Gambit back to the form.
Yeah.
I think, this is my thing. The beauty about comics is there's 9 million versions of everything. So without a Wolverine, you can still have the female identified Weapon X be a part of it. So
I just want Storm to get with
and
Black
have that role
Panther.
filled.
That's what I'm here for.
That's what I'm here for. I have a person that they should cast as Storm. DeAndre Watts from She's Gotta Have It. She would be a perfect Storm. I think she would be great. So
I love that show too.
But see, right now they have Storm coming out of Egypt. So can she perfect like an Egyptian accent?
no. No.
All right, go. A good show. You said a good show.
Good Omens. Good show. It's on Amazon. Watch it. What got me was I'm big into cinematography. I love filmmaking. I love that aspect of it. I love color grade, all of that stuff that's pretty dope. And Good Omens has it. On top of that, it has really snarky commentary. Almost like, I don't know if y'all used to watch PBS past like 9 o'clock on the weekdays, and they had like the British like murder mystery shows and like, you know, satire shows about, you know, like a nanny or something like that. That's what the writing is, but it takes on deeper concepts like the duality of man, good and evil. And so Good Omens is a show that you have to watch. It's so good. What got me too is, even though it's a British show, they tried to stay true to like biblical things, and Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden with the flaming sword, right? That's true to biblical stories, but they were black. And I was like, oh, and that got me right there. Then I stayed and watched the rest of the show, and it was really good. It was really good. So I would say watch it. It's got some really interesting personalities and some great concepts, and it's a fantastic show. Check it out. With that, I'm gonna ask y'all, do y'all have any motivational quotes for the people?
Go hard in the paint. Never let up. You know, always stay hungry. Remember how you were when you were starving and when you were poor. Take that with you for the rest of your life, and always keep fighting.
Jay?
No, that was dope. Keep your head up, Tupac.
I got a motivational quote. If the Knicks act stupid in this draft and don't draft RJ Barrett, I am gonna go to Madison Square Garden and stand out front of the Madison Square Garden with a sign, and I'm gonna get as many Knicks fans behind me to get James Dolan out of there. That's all I gotta say.
That's not a quote. That is a bet.
Just make sure you
That's actually a guarantee.
That and put it on the YouTube.
All right.
Just make sure you record that and put it on
I will
YouTube
put it on
channel.
YouTube. Knicks, do the right thing. Do the right thing. That's my quote. Shout out to Spike Lee. Spike Lee, give us your energy, positive energy, bro. Shout out to your Oscar wins. Do the right thing, Knicks. That's all. Thanks for listening to The Pine. Follow us on SoundCloud at The Real Pine, on Twitter at The Pine Pod, on Instagram at The Pine Podcast, and on YouTube at The Pine Podcast. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Gang, gang.
Bye.